I'm going to go over every bad decision made in It Chapter 2 and explain what I would have done differently. So here's the setup. 27 years ago, the Losers Club beat Pennywise as kids and made a blood oath. If it ever came back, they'd return to Derry and finish the job. Now they're adults, they've all moved on with their lives, and most of them have basically forgotten everything that happened. And then Mike, the only one who stayed in Derry, calls them all back because Pennywise is awake again and people are dying. So now 6 adults have to go back to their hometown to fight a shape-shifting demon clown that feeds on fear and has been alive for literally centuries. Great. Let's talk about every way they made this worse. The first bad decision is Adrian staying to fight those guys on the bridge. So Adrian and his boyfriend Don are leaving the carnival when a group of guys start harassing them and following them to a bridge. And look, I hate to say this, but Adrian should have just handed over the hat and walked away the second things started escalating. You are outnumbered, you're on a secluded bridge in the middle of the night, there are no witnesses, and you have no idea how far these guys are willing to take this. The brave thing to do and the smart thing to do are not the same thing here. And Adrian is definitely braver than me, but he's also a lot deader than me, so make of that what you will. And even after getting thrown into the river, which is already a nightmare situation, Adrian sees a clown standing on the riverbank in the middle of the night just watching him. And his instinct is not to swim away from the clown. He just kind of floats there. If I'm in that river, I am pointing my feet downstream, letting the current carry me as far away from that clown as physically possible, and I am not stopping until I am in a completely different town. That was not complicated. Now, the next bad decision is Stanley not telling anyone what was actually happening with him. So Mike calls all the losers and tells them Pennywise is back, and Stanley, instead of calling anyone back or talking to literally one person about what he's feeling, just ends his own life. And I understand Stanley was terrified, the fear he felt was real, and it makes sense given everything he went through as a kid, but Stanley had 6 people he could have called. 6! Any one of them would have answered. Instead, he made this decision completely alone, in complete silence, and the group loses one of their most important members before the fight even starts. And here is the really painful part. At the end of the movie, they read Stanley's letter, and it turns out he thought through everything clearly. He understood his own fear better than anyone. He knew he would have held the group back, so he made a calculated decision to protect them. Which means if Stanley had just picked up the phone and talked to even one of his friends about what he was feeling, they might have been able to work through it together. Staying silent cost everything.
Now, the next bad decision is everyone splitting up completely alone and unarmed to find their tokens. So Mike says the ritual requires each of them to find a sacrificial item from their childhood alone, and all 6 of them just scatter across Derry by themselves with no weapons, no communication plan, and no check-in time. In a town where a supernatural demon clown is actively hunting all of them. Now, I understand Mike said they need to find the items alone, but alone does not have to mean completely unprotected. You could pair off and have one person wait outside while the other goes in. You split the strongest with the weakest. Bev with Richie, Bill with Eddie, Mike with Ben. That way everyone has backup within shouting distance if something goes wrong. And more importantly, you arm yourself before you go anywhere. These are adults now. They have access to things they didn't have as kids. A knife, a bat, literally anything. But they all just walk off into Derry empty-handed. And nobody sets a single check-in time. No, if I'm not back in 30 minutes, come find me. Just see you whenever, which is exactly why some of them end up alone with Pennywise for way too long before anyone even notices. Now, Bev's situation in that apartment and this one is painful. So Bev goes to her old apartment and a strange old lady named Mrs. Kirsch opens the door and invites her in. And right away, this woman is off. Her eyes are wrong. She moves strangely. She knows things she shouldn't know. And there are red flags absolutely everywhere. I mean, there's a literal picture of Pennywise hanging on the living room wall, and Bev stays for tea. Now, before Bev even goes into that apartment, she should have armed herself with something. She already knows from the first movie that iron can hurt Pennywise. Grab something on the way in, have it ready. And once you are inside, you keep your guard up from the second that old lady opens the door. She was watching Bev from the shadows the whole time and moving around like something was wrong with her. As soon as I get my hands on that poem, I am sneaking straight to the front door before Grandma even knows I'm gone. You would have to be out of your mind to stick around around for tea time. And then when Bev finally decides to leave, she hits the door and panics like she's completely trapped. But the chain and the deadbolts are on her side. She controls the locks from the inside. Just undo them and go. That is how doors work. Do not stand there giving the clown a piece of your mind, because I promise you, if you wait too long, he's going to take a lot more than that. Now, the next bad decision is Bill running off to the funhouse alone to save the kid. So a skateboard comes rolling down the hotel stairs with a message carved into it warning that Pennywise is going after the new kid who lives in Bill's old house. And Bill, instead of grabbing Ben and Bev, who were both standing right there, just sprints out the door alone. And this is the same mistake Bill made in the first movie. He ran off alone to face Pennywise and needed his friends to bail him out. And here he is doing the exact same thing. He ends up in a mirror maze at the funhouse, completely isolated. Pennywise has him exactly where it wants him, and he has to watch that kid get devoured right in front of him and cannot do a single thing about it. If Bill had just taken Ben and Bev with him, Pennywise would have had to split its illusions between multiple targets instead of focusing everything on trapping Bill. You send Bill in to the front following the kid, Ben and Bev circle around and come into the back, and Eddie stays outside on guard. Now, Pennywise has 3 or 4 people to deal with instead of 1. Maybe the kid lives. Instead, Bill ran off alone and got played perfectly. Again, he is 0 for 2 when it comes to saving kids from this clown, and both times it's because he will not wait for his friends. Now, Richie deciding to leave town, this one I actually understand more than almost anything else in this movie. So after his encounter at the park, where Pennywise basically told him it knows his secret, Richie gets in his car and drives out of Derry. And look, Pennywise just told you it knows the exact thing you are most scared of people finding out. That is a completely different kind of fear. I get the impulse. But here's the problem. Leaving does not save you. Pennywise has already shown it can reach people outside of Derry if it wants to. And Richie is one of 6 people needed for this ritual to work. If he leaves, his friends go into the final fight 1 person short against something that has been alive for millions of years. And when Richie finally turns around and goes back, he arrives at the library just in time to save Mike's life. If he had kept driving, Mike is dead. So Richie leaving even for that short window almost cost one of his best friends everything. You could be terrified and still stay. That's kind of the whole point. Now going into the Neibolt house without weapons, this one genuinely drives me crazy. So the group regroups and heads to the old Neibolt house to perform the ritual. And Bent grabs a spike from the iron fence outside, which is smart because she already knows from the first movie that iron can hurt Pennywise. But she is the only one who grabs one. The other 5 walk into this house completely empty-handed. You're about to walk into the home base of an ancient demon that has been preparing for your arrival, and 1 person has a weapon. There are more spikes on that fence. There are 6 of you. Everyone grabs one. That takes 30 seconds. And now they're adults. They had time to stop at a sporting goods store. Axes, baseball bats, a chainsaw, anything. But now 5 of them walk in with their bare hands. And sure enough, Pennywise immediately slams a door shut to separate them into 2 groups, which is the exact same trick it pulled on them in this exact house almost 30 years ago. Same house, same trick, they walked straight into it. And now they're split up, isolated, and getting picked off. And to make it worse, when the fridge starts shaking in the kitchen, the same fridge trick Pennywise used on them as kids in this same house, instead of immediately pushing the fridge face down onto the ground and trapping whatever's inside, they just stand there and watch it happen. If that thing came skittering at me, I'm kicking it across the room like I'm going for a field goal. The only reason that ankle-biting spider head was any kind of threat was because they were completely disorganized and unarmed. Now, the sewer tunnel before the final chamber, this one is quick, but it matters. So the group is walking through the tunnels toward the final chamber, and Bev hears Pennywise whisper her name from somewhere behind them. She looks back and sees nothing. And instead of the group immediately tightening up and moving faster, they basically just keep walking normally. And then the demonic old lady explodes out of the water and drags Bev under. If I heard Pennywise whisper my name in a dark sewer tunnel, I'm not casually looking back and shrugging. I'm grabbing the person next to me, I'm telling everyone right now, and we are moving through that tunnel in tight formation, tied together if possible. That way, when it tries to yank someone away, it has to take the whole group.
You do not give it a clean grab on a solo target. And the last bad decision is Eddie turning his back on Pennywise after he puts the spike through its mouth. So Eddie in the final cave fight has this incredible moment where he hurtles his fence spike straight into Pennywise's open mouth, and the clown goes down hard and gets impaled on a rock behind it. And everybody's stunned because it actually worked. And Eddie immediately runs over to check on Richie and starts celebrating. And Pennywise, who is very much not dead, drives one of its own spikes straight through Eddie's chest. You never turn your back on the monster before you confirm the kill. Everyone who's ever watched a horror movie in their entire life knows this rule, and Eddie, of all people, who has seen enough horror in real life to know better than anyone else, just stands there with his back completely open celebrating. You keep your eyes on it, you make sure it's down, you put another spike in it just to be safe. Check the kill first, then celebrate. Instead, Eddie paid the ultimate price for an amateur mistake, and the losers lose one of their own right at the end. So yeah, that's how you survive It Chapter 2. Don't pick a fight on a secluded bridge at night, talk to your friends instead of going silent, go in armed, all of you, not just Bev, get your token leave, do not have tea with the creepy old lady, don't run off alone, Bill. Richie, stay in town. Push the fridge down before it opens, and when you put a spike through a demon clown's mouth, you stay on it until you are absolutely sure it is finished. The wildest part is the thing that actually kills Pennywise is just a whole group standing in a circle calling it a loser and a fake and a clown until it has an identity crisis and shrinks down and dies. That's it. That's what beats a creature that has been alive since before the dinosaurs. They just bully it to death, which I fully respect. But it would have been really nice if Mike could mention that was an option before Eddie had to die. Stan knew though, Stan always knew. He was the smartest one the whole time.